State Senator Mark Messmer joins us in the studio on WJTS-Inform this evening. Thank you for joining us. Every Friday during session, or almost every Friday really, the state senator visits us and lets us know what's happening in the legislation, on the Senate side especially. Now, this is the end of the second half of session. Is that correct?
Well, actually, last
week
was
the week.
Last week was the end of the first half. Now we're in the second half this week, and we're end of week one of the second half.
I think that's what I meant to say, but you surely clarified that, as much of your bills do. Oftentimes, clarify some laws. Well, let's talk about two bills that that came up in the first half.
Yep.
That will be up again here in the second half, and I'll let you do that.
Two of our bills that I tried to give a list of bills as we went through the first half of session of things that I thought were interesting, and a couple of them that we passed on the last day, and I didn't get to cover last Friday that I thought the folks here at home might be interested in. Maybe not, I don't know. One was Senate Bill 1, and in 2015 there were no U.S. Food and Drug Administration rules or laws regulating e-liquids, and that's what, the liquids that you put into the e-cigarettes, the refillable liquids. There was no federal guidelines at all at that point, and the stuff had been on the market, out for the consumers for 10 years or so, and still no regulation. So in 2015, we put together a state law that required if you're gonna sell or manufacture e-liquids, some packaging requirements, some labeling requirements, records requirements, and then in 2016 they revised it a little bit to add some security requirements on where you store the e-liquid product that has nicotine in it. And then two things happened that, after we got out of session last year in the summer of 2016. The U.S. Food and Drug Administration did finally come out with rules. And at about the same time, some of the e-liquid manufacturers out of state challenged, some of the provisions that we had put, because that it potentially applied, our state laws potentially applied to groups that manufactured products in another state or another country, I guess, for that matter. And the U.S. Seventh Court of Appeals said you can't pass state laws that that impact the manufacture of a product in another state. So, which I wish they would apply that same mindset to the state of California, but that's
another story for another time.
So we had, and so that court ruling came down about the same time the FDA finally came out with some rules and guidelines. So this year at Senate Bill 1, basically, and we said when we passed the original law in 2015, if the Food and Drug Administration ever comes up with their own rules, we'll take our laws off the books, because you really can't, you can't. I guess you could potentially make our, people that manufactured in the state comply to a higher threshold than what the FDA, says. But if the FDA has rules, we'll get ours off the books. And so the bulk of Senate Bill 1 is just striking, most of what we had in those 2015 and 2016 laws. And the only thing it really keeps in place is a registration process for people that are going to manufacture in Indiana, to get their name, identification information, phone numbers, addresses. And then the owners of the manufacturing facility here would have to have a criminal history check to make sure they don't have felonies that would be potentially, adverse to to them being a manufacturer of this product. Verify that they're complying with the list of, FDA parameters that they've established, and then a registration fee, and the rest of the law goes off the books. So hopefully the House author that authored the original bill in 2015 and 2016, I've heard, is not real keen on having his law taken away, but it would have never passed had he not agreed to do it when the federal government took over.
So this basically just deals with the manufacturing of the liquid nicotine.
Correct.
For the e-cigarettes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Not
Yeah.
so much with the selling of it or the
No,
and it
because
just
I think the selling of it, we pretty much require, if you're going to sell e-liquid products, you fall under the same requirements as if you were selling a tobacco product.
Okay.
And that'll stay the same. No one under 18 is supposed to be able to purchase it. I mean, the same cigarette laws on sale and licensing and age, I mean, all of that still falls into the same category of rules as if it were a tobacco product.
Okay, and now the second bill that you're going to talk about, that one hasn't caused a whole lot of controversy yet, but
Not yet.
could.
Well,
Okay.
it really didn't get a lot of disagreement the first half of session. It's Senate Bill 423, and it would prevent any state educational, and any college in Indiana that takes state dollars, be it from the state budget, or if they take student, the 21st Century Scholar money, if they take state funds, they will not be allowed to have an official policy creating a sanctuary campus for illegal aliens. And people say, well, why would they do that? Well, some already have. So, if they're gonna take state dollars and then probably on top of that federal dollars, you can't officially create a sanctuary campus for folks that are here illegally. And we've already in 2011 passed a law that prohibited our state colleges from allowing illegal aliens to get in-state tuition. So and there was initially some dust up from that, and I think there was a small group of students identified in either 2012 or 2013 that if they were already enrolled at the college, could they let them just finish it as is? And I think that that got passed, but I mean now all of those students would be through the system, from the initial 2011 and then tweaked it in 2012. So they can't grant them in-state tuition if they're here legally already, and this would just not allow them to create a policy that says we're gonna withhold records from immigration folks if they come on campus. You have to comply with the law. So,
and this would be if they make an official statement. Doesn't mean that it doesn't.
There could be
happen.
A staff person could try to hide the identity of someone here illegally. I mean, you would not be able to necessarily stop every incident of somebody trying to protect that person, but from a university or college administrative overall blanket statement, that would not allow it.
I would imagine then that would affect every college and university because I
well,
would think they all get state. I know obviously state-funded schools do, but private schools still are getting scholarship money through certain.
Most probably are. I mean, there could be some who say, there could be. I think there's actually, is it Hillsdale College in Michigan, takes no federal money, no state money, no grants, no. So I don't know if
they do exist.
They do exist.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not sure if there's any in Indiana that don't take, state aid at some point. But we do allow private universities to take our 21st Century Scholar, money. I mean, we set that up years ago. They're allowed to take, because the thought process is the money follows the kid. Whether he goes to a state school or private school, as a state, we don't really care. If they qualify for the money, they can spend it wherever they want. But if those colleges are going to take the money, then they can't adopt a policy that says we are a sanctuary campus. So.
And this bill went through the Senate pretty easily.
Yeah, I think there was 4 or 5 votes against.
Okay, now it goes to the House.
To the House.
Is there a similar bill in the House that's coming to the Senate? Or I mean,
don't,
sometimes it seems like that always happens.
It happens a lot, and sometimes it happens a lot, and then you end up with with both bills. You're trying to juggle it during the second half of session, and it's never really seemed very logical to me. But sometimes you file them in both the House and the Senate, and when one of them gets moving, then ideally the other author just if whichever one gets moving first, the other author should just back off and let it go, but sometimes there's a lot of pride of ownership.
In those.
There was a little dust up this week on, a House and Senate member both had the identical bill, and neither one wanted to have their bill, pulled back.
Couldn't they co-sign? Or
they can. They should.
Okay.
Probably are co-authors, and does it really? I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. As long as both bills pass in the identical wording,
Okay.
they can both follow them through, I guess. But kind of funny.
So now we're a week into the second half.
Yep, there'll be about 4 more weeks of committee hearings. I think about April 6th we'll wrap up on all of the final voting on House bills in the Senate and Senate bills in the House, and then we'll have about 2 weeks of conference committee time, where if there's changes in a bill, you have opportunity to hammer them out. And we were originally supposed to wrap up on April 28th. Well, we were told about 2 weeks ago there's a National Firefighters Convention the last week of April, and they've got every hotel room booked, and so we're going to try to wrap up
A little
the
early.
week before they get there. And it may be the Monday of that week of the convention, but I don't think we'll go much later than Monday, maybe Tuesday. So we'll get done a few days early.
And if someone would ever like to contact you, what's the best way to reach you?
Well, a couple options. My personal email is the easiest way to catch me, because whether I'm in Indianapolis, whether I'm at home, whether email is probably the simplest. Mark795 at psci.net. That's the simplest way to. I check my emails frequently and respond quickly. My home number is 812-634-1589. If we don't answer, and we're not there a lot, so leave a message. I will call back. And phone or email, either one is fine. And if you have questions or concerns about issues we're dealing with, let me know.
All right. Well, Senator, thank you very much for coming in.
You're very welcome. Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure to have you come in, and we
here.
appreciate the time that you take to come in
my
and do
pleasure.
the show with us. We thank you for watching WJTS Inform. We are local people watching local people.